I was outside of my house on a Friday night around 11:30 p.m., waiting for my taxi to arrive and take me to work. I bartended the grave shift of the green room on Decatur from 12 a.m. to 8 a.m. The cab was taking forever, so I did my usual waiting by sitting down on the sidewalk. I had on my backpack with my laptop in it. My phone was in my pocket. I was looking towards Magazine Street, hoping to see my taxi turn the corner. Behind me, I heard a car pull up to the stop sign. I looked back thinking it was my cab, but it wasn't. It was just a brownish four-door older model hoopty. I thought nothing of it and turned my head back to the main road. I remember looking at the time and deciding to call the cab company back to see how much longer my ride would be. I hate being late for work. I could still hear that car just behind me, just chilling at the stop sign. The people in it were talking and laughing with each other. I assumed they were rolling a blunt or something. That's typical of New Orleans, and I thought nothing of it. I'm used to my routine. I'm familiar with my neighborhood and friends with all my neighbors. I didn't feel threatened or scared. I was more focused on getting to work on time. I dialed the taxi company back, and the phone rang and rang and rang. Typical. It's Friday night. I sat there with the phone to my ear, hoping they would eventually answer. As the phone continues to ring, suddenly I feel and hear a thunk on my head. I turn and see three tall black guys around me. One has a pipe or something similar in his hand. They continue hitting me in the head. I'm bleeding all over. All I can hear is, "Stupid white bitch! Oh, Snow Bunny is leaking!" The sound of my head being hit with fists and metal, and lots of laughter. My neighbor, Nikiva, owns a beauty shop on the corner. She heard the commotion and she popped her head out of the window. She began yelling at them to stop and that she's calling the police. The guys, still laughing, jumped back into the car and speed off. My neighbor and her clients ran downstairs and outside to help me. I remember her putting a towel on my head, screaming, "Call an ambulance! Call an ambulance!" as she helped walk me over to her doorway. She made me drink water until the ambulance and police arrived. They didn't rob me. They didn't take my phone or my laptop. They didn't do anything but beat me in the head and call me names and laugh. They did this solely for their own enjoyment. I remember the heat of my blood pouring out of my head. I remember the smell of it. I remember it vividly. It's so weird. Anyway, as the paramedics are assisting me, the police are asking questions. My neighbor told them everything she saw, and I told them what I could. She described their car in great detail. The police told us that there's been a lot of attacks on white people lately, and I was already the third report that week. Then, as we're still being questioned, the fucking car slowly drives right back by. Nikiva is like, "Oh my God, that's the car! That's them, go catch them!" And the police just stood there. I shit you not. Then they said, by the time we get back in the car and pull out, they'll probably be long gone. It was appalling. That's when I realized that the NOPD did not give a damn. My head was so messed up. The pain was probably the worst pain I've ever experienced in my life. My head ached intensely for over a month. I've recently had an MRI and was told I still have visible signs of a TBI. I feel like it changed me. I have a lot of memory issues. Till this day, I still judge people as individuals based on their actions. Just because 3 black men hated me for looking white doesn't mean all black people hate me for looking white. In that experience, although black men were beating me, my black neighbor and her black clients were saving me. There are good and bad people everywhere. It doesn't matter their race, religion, or financial status. In my opinion, there are good and bad cops, good and bad priests, good and bad doctors, good and bad everything. So to answer your question, yes, anyone can be subjected to racism. The only thing is that the media only reports and presses on stories that will divide us. Do you have any thoughts about how the media represents racism? Let us know in the comments below. Airport Karen's ruining vacation. Flying out of Philadelphia after visiting a good friend for a week, I travel pretty frequently and like to make security check as painless as possible for me, and everyone else involved. So usually the only thing I need to get on the belt is my carry-on bag, shoes, and phone. I get to the security table, kick off my shoes, throw them in the bin with my phone and boarding pass, so there's nothing in my hands. Bag is on my shoulder, and the bin is in my hands, and I'm ready to go. Enter 2 wild Karens. Perhaps they're not full-blown Karens separately, but together, their powers have amplified. Combined, the Karens have about 6 bins of toiletries, electronics, shoes, and other nonsense, and they are taking their sweet time. They obviously know this, as moments before I entered the line, Karen 1 had allowed someone to pass on in front of them. Anxious to get through as I'm in a tight spot, between the Karens in front, the stand where they check your boarding pass and ID behind me, and the table to my left, I cut around the other side to the table and ask Karen 1, "Do you mind if I just jump ahead?" Karen 1 is instantly miffed and responds, "No, and I don't know where you think you're going. That side is blocked off." Not one to stay quiet, I respond, "Just trying to get my stuff on the belt, but fine, take your time." Both Karens ignore me, leaving their bins on the table, and proceed to the body scanner. I stand there confused for a moment, still at the end of the table, about 3 feet from the belt where items are supposed to be placed. Did they expect me to place all their items on the belt for them? No thanks. I grab my bin and bag, place it on the belt, and begin towards the body scanner. The guy who checks the boarding passes stops me to ask if the items left behind are mine. Nope. Keep moving forward. I hear him calling across the security checkpoint to ask whose items are being left behind. I apologize to the casual bystander in this petty nonsense. I encountered the Karens on the other side as they looked perplexed as my items come through first. I hear Karen 1 whisper to Karen 2, "Our stuff is still on the table on the other side." Yikes. I grab my items and leave, and the Karens have to return to the other side, push their items through, and get rescanned. Moral of the story? Probably don't be rude to people if you're gonna leave your stuff with them. A breeding ground for nightmare people. Let us know if you've had any interaction with them. That is the end of the video. I hope you liked it. Subscribe for more content like this, and hit the like button to help us out.